Time to review Crossroads from 1986.
Covenant, you're calling Raven.
Payback time.
Come with me if you want to live. You just don't turn it off!
A wannabe blues guitar virtuoso finds an old blues player and hopes he can teach him a long-lost song by legendary musician Robert Johnson. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. We talk movies of the past that you know and love. And today, guys, we're going to talk about Crossroads, not the Britney Spears movie, Crossroads from 1986. And I got this this jacket here, this Blu-ray, kind of, but it's the old VHS jacket. I don't know if you guys have seen these around before, but it's really good stuff. I absolutely adore this movie. This is an 80s cult classic, and it's a very important movie to me. A very important movie. I mean, I picked up the guitar after watching this movie, or at least I wanted to learn the guitar on a deeper level after watching this movie. When I watched Crossroads, I just got totally fascinated by the blues. I've been into the blues ever since this movie, wanting to learn how to play the guitar, what Ralph Macchio was doing, you know, the end guitar battle that you see in this, absolutely fantastic stuff. So it's a movie that has a real personal meaning to me, but it's also a really good movie. You got Roger Ebert here saying a cheerful cross between a slice of life and a supernatural fable. Really good way of putting it, this movie. So we can't help but think of the Karate Kid because Ralph Macchio's in it. He has an old mentor, but you know, it's got great music. It's got kind of a little love romance story to it, some drama to it, and one-liners coming out of your ass, man. It's so freaking funny, this movie. So Crossroads was released in 1986, directed by Walter Hill, starring Ralph Macchio, Joe Seneca, and Jami Gertz. As far as how accurate it is historically with Willie Brown, Robert Johnson, all that kind of stuff, that's not what the movie is. It's not a historically accurate movie. There were several Willie Brown musicians back in the Delta in those days, and they even kind of poke fun out of it, you know, where Willie Brown's like, hey, I got 6 cousins named Willie Brown. Man, working down the street named Willie Brown. If I had a nickel for every Willie Brown in this world, I would be sitting here now listening yo bullshit. Like that. He's like, when he goes off on Ralph Macchio, but it's, they even poke fun at that. Now, Willie Brown from the Delta was an old blues guitar player. He did great tracks like M&O Blues.
I believe I'm gonna catch that M&O.
Future Blues. I think he did one called Ragged and Dirty. I'm not sure about that, but we know enough about the music of Robert Johnson, and that's what this story is about. It's a road movie. It has some romance. It's drama. You know, Ralph Macchio plays this music prodigy, this classical prodigy who has a fascination with the blues. He wants to be the next big blues guy, and apparently Robert Johnson recorded a 30th song, was supposed to record a 30th song. He recorded 29. So he goes to this old age home where the last person who knew Robert may know this song, and this will put him into the blues scene, right? And that's what projects this movie into this road movie where Willie Brown has some stuff, you know, he wants to take care of some stuff back in Mississippi. So they head from New York all the way to Mississippi. And along the way, this kid learns living the blues, the meaning of the blues. So he's this kid who's been spoon-fed his whole life, never really had any kind of hardships, any kind of tough life. While you watch this movie, Willie Brown's like, you know, you're playing the blues, everything, but you're not feeling anything. And that's the thing. He's like, there's one great scene where, you know, the train goes by and they're like, they want to jam, you know, make the train talk, you know, doing it like a train blues shuffle and everything. So they start jamming out with the harmonica and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, kid, you're playing all the notes right. You got no feeling behind it though. So it's just the kid hasn't lived enough. He hasn't had enough hard times.
You ain't gonna never get that lost song if you can't make the train talk. The way you playing is gonna take you 10 years.
They do something that's earned near the end that we'll talk about. But I really like the characters in this. You know, Ralph Macchio does a great job kind of recycling that Karate Kid kind of character. This kid's a little bit more mature, but, you know, playing on the same idea and Joe Seneca playing this old cankerous blues dude, you know what I mean? Who made this deal with the devil. So they take the Legend of the Crossroads by Robert Johnson, and it's just a legend. Let's be honest here. You know, Robert Johnson was bad. He comes back a year later to a juke joint and he's blowing people away.
I went to the crossroads.
This legend gets made up of how he sold his soul to the devil. And that's kind of what the movie's based around. Even in the themes, it's good versus evil, making deals. And Willie Brown made this deal years ago to get his fame and fortune, but he ended up getting nothing. So what happens when you make a deal with the devil? You know, promised all this stuff. He became good on the harmonica. He had his fame and fortune. By the end of his life, it served him nothing. You know what I mean? And then he's just at this old age home. All the blues you could ever possibly want out of a guy like this, but it's done nothing for him. So he wants to go back to Mississippi and call this deal off.
Now, you sloughed up on your end of things. I didn't end up where I wanted. I didn't end up with nothing. Didn't get nothing.
You got what you were supposed to get, blues man. Ain't nothing ever as good as we want it to be.
Along the way, he gets Ralph Macchio to break him out of this old age home. They go on the road together. But great performances by all these guys. By Joe Seneca. You know, he has some of the best one-liners in this movie. This movie is chocked full of one-liners. Like, I just love why he's trying to impress Willie Brown. And he's like, tell me this isn't Sunhouse. He does this blues lick and he's like, sounds like bird shit. One of my personal favorites in this movie is this one right here.
Blues, man. Where you from?
I was born in Long Island. Why?
Oh, Long Island. Oh, shit, this is rich. Long Island, the famous breeding ground for bluesmen.
It's full of stuff like this. Willie Brown is absolutely hilarious in this movie. We get Jami Gertz, who's a runaway. They team up with her on the road. They start traveling together. And, you know, she's very hard home life, but she serves a really great purpose in this film. She leaves on the road. Her and Eugene, which is Ralph Macchio's character, they get attached. You know, they have a roll in the hay, let's say, but then she leaves one morning, and this is what gives him his first heartbreak, right? And this is where you get one of the best moments in this film, where he's telling Willie, you know, I know your life has been a lot harder than mine, but I'm gonna miss her. I'm really gonna miss her. He was falling for her. He has a heart broken. That's what the blues is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the blues is. Great piece of dialogue here. I mean, you know, a man with a whole lot of sense said, blues ain't nothing but a good man feeling bad. Thinking about the woman he once was with. And this is where Ralph Macchio picks up that fucking guitar. And now he's playing with soul and feeling. And it's fantastic.
Lots of towns, lots of songs, lots of women.
The title track is called Feeling Bad Blues. If I want to go back to the themes of the movie a bit, this good versus evil, you know, the devil, you know, facing off against the devil making deals, you're taking deals, you know, taking deals that you should have never taken. So it's dealing with, you know, wanting that instant gratification. I want to be the best, you know what I mean? And then you got this kid, Eugene, who's trying to be this blues virtuoso, but he's already a classical virtuoso. And that's where you get that big, great scene at the end of this movie that is so earned with the guitar contest. If Ralph Macchio wins, then Willie gets his soul back. If he loses, then the devil gets his soul as well, because Macchio doesn't really believe in all this shit. It is such a fantastic ending, man. It's so iconic. It's so worth the wait through this movie, where we get the virtuoso and Steve Vai. Ralph Macchio facing off in this guitar duel, and it's so great how they end this thing, because Ralph Macchio at one point starts losing, and then he pulls out all his classical training. I guess you could look at it as a metaphor, as classical music's like God's music, blues is like the devil's music. If you believe in all that, you know what I mean? He pulls out the light. Even Willie Brown's impressed by him, what he can do on the classical guitar. He's playing it on the telly and everything. And this is what gets him out of how he saves Willie Brown's soul. fantastic stuff. But you're going to laugh on this. You're going to get entertained by it, by the one-liners. Now, you may not like this movie if you're not really into the blues, if you're not really into music a whole lot. This movie may not do a whole lot for you. And especially if you like blues culture, I think you'll dig it. It's not the most accurate movie, but it's a lot of fun. You know, in Walter Hill's direction, he makes it a lot of fun. It's a good way of retelling stories in a new way, I find, in this movie. The star of the show, it has a great soundtrack, but some of the great music in it is not really on the soundtrack, like the movie soundtrack, but you watch the movie it's got great blues playing through it. You have Ry Cooder doing all the music through this movie, at least the blues stuff anyway. Steve Vai at the end, and Steve Vai's playing Eugene's trick bag, which is that thing Ralph Macchio at the end wins with, the classical piece. And so many other great songs in this. Great blues music. The harmonica playing is done by Sonny Terry, which if you're a blues fan, you know Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Just great soulful stuff. I mean, I love the guitar playing in it. So many things that were so iconic in this movie. And like, I mean, I'm a Telecaster fan. I learned the guitar because of this movie. This movie inspired me so much and inspired almost everybody in the 80s learning guitar. You know, that's the movie's a guitar movie, you know what I mean? And I just used to watch this movie so many times and go, I want to learn how to do that. How do I do that? How can I learn how to do that? And then, you know, I picked up the guitar in about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years of playing. I picked up the slide guitar, and which you saw my horrible imitation at the beginning of this video. But I learned how to play slide all by myself by just using my ears and magazines and shit like that. And I've just been such a blues fan ever since. I was just so fascinated by blues culture, how the music came to be, the people who played it, all the racial injustice that happened during those times. I mean, I would love to take a trip to Mississippi, man. But this movie is just so important to me for so many reasons. And when I get into a blues mood, I'm definitely putting this movie on all the time. And Ralph Macchio actually learned a bit of guitar during this, and I think he still plays guitar to this day. I don't know how fantastic he is, but I think he actually learned how to play guitar. I think Arlen Roth was his teacher, the guy who showed him how to do all the fingerings when they made this movie, so it looked somewhat accurate. And as a guitar player, I can tell you that, you know, Ralph Macchio does a pretty good job of where he's putting his fingers to make it look pretty real. Which comes to, like, you know, guys, I'm not the greatest movie critic. I'm just giving you a review what you may like, what I like about it, but there's not many things I really don't like about it. I just have a great time with this movie. The material could have been handled better with all the themes, maybe, but I think they did a great job. The only thing is, if you're not a guitar player, you probably wouldn't pick up on this, but Ralph Macchio during this has never played slide guitar. They cut him a piece of slide. You know, he learns how to play the slide guitar like within minutes. You know what I mean? He's already jamming it out, rocking it out. Let me tell you something. Slide guitar is not easy. It takes a while to learn it. You could be like 20 years playing the guitar. You pick up a slide, you're just not going to be able to play it. It doesn't work like that. So I get it for the advancement of the story. You had to do it, but it's kind of like, yeah, he learned slide awful fast, man. He learned it awful fast. But a really great movie, guys. That means a lot to me. It's a cult classic. You know, one of those 80s movies that's kind of forgotten about. Unless you're a guitar player, unless you're a musician, then like everybody, like when you talk about Crossroads, everyone thinks of the Britney Spears movie. And that's just shameful, man. Shameful, because this is such a cult classic. It's a great film. You know, Ralph Macchio doing Karate Kid and doing this little movie called Crossroads. You know what I mean? And man, just you get those movies that mean so much to you in your upbringing. You get those movies that actually changed your life in somehow. And, you know, I wouldn't be a guitar player. I wouldn't love the blues, I think, if it wasn't for this, because it sent me down this rabbit hole of music and blues players and all this kind of stuff. So I absolutely just adore this movie, the charm that it goes for, the good versus evil told through this huge guitar contest. Fantastic. I'm going to give Crossroads from 1986 a solid B. But what about you guys? What do you think of Crossroads? Have you seen it? If you haven't, go watch it. Come back to this review. Let's have a great discussion in those comments about Crossroads. I hope it inspires you as much as it's inspired me, man, because it's very important to me. And stay to the end card. I'll send you down the rabbit hole of movie reviews, all that jazz. My name is Jason. I thank you for watching this review. Thank you for watching Backtrack Cinema. I will see you next time, and I'll see you in the movies. Cheers.